let's get into these mid-late round wide receivers. And we're talking about, the Sutton-Judy range, which we just broke down with the Denver Broncos. We're talking about names like Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Curtis Samuel, Jarvis Landry, Devonta Smith, Laviska Shenault, Corey Davis, Antonio Brown.
Kind of rounds, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9?
Yep, exactly. And that's a range where it's almost like pick your poison. And when you hit that spot, typically you're either looking for a flex or a wide receiver 3. In most leagues, if we're talking a 12-team PPR, half-point PPR draft, or you're looking at a super deep wide receiver 2 if you've already addressed all the other positions. Alex, I got 2 players that I'm targeting every single time when I'm looking at receivers in this range. I'm curious if you have 1 or 2 that you're going for as well.
I actually like a lot of the guys in this group. I think this is a little value pocket for wide receivers. And if I'm waiting and I'm going with that third running back earlier, I'm going with that early tight end, or we talked about Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson fall to the 6th round, I'm smashing all day long. So if any of those things, any of those variables happen early in drafts, I might end up drafting my wide receiver 3 or my flex right here. And I love the rosters that come out of it because there are so many names in this range that I like. The 2 guys I see you're going to talk about, I absolutely love. But the first one I'm going to pick here is going to be, we'll go Antonio Brown. We'll go back to the well, talking about some of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We mentioned the Bucs offense earlier, and I just think AB is a huge value right now in drafts. On Underdog right now, he's going as the wide receiver 43 in the 8th round. And on Fantasy Pros, his ADP is wide receiver 46 going in the 9th round. So just an incredible value considering Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are both going in round 4. Tampa Bay, you mentioned it earlier on the pod, but I'll go ahead and go through some of these offensive statistics again. They were 6th in pass attempts in 2020, 2nd in pass yards, 2nd in pass touchdowns. So there's so much volume to go around in Tampa. And Antonio Brown was much better than people remember last season. He played 8 games in 2020, and this was his average stat line in those 8 games. And remember, he was coming back off the streets, getting incorporated into an offense on the fly. So it's not like he had tons of time to prep, and he got 7.5 targets a game, 5.5 receptions, 60 yards, and half a touchdown per game. So that's a 16-game pace of 90 receptions, 966 yards, and 8 touchdowns. In PPR leagues, that's a fantastic low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. And if you actually look at all 8 games that Antonio Brown played, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were both active for that entire span. And when those 3 guys shared the field, AB was the wide receiver 22 over that span. Godwin was the wide receiver 17, and Evans was the wide receiver 11. So Brown was still 3rd in the pecking order, but he was still a top 24 wide receiver, a wide receiver 2. Right now, he's being drafted as a wide receiver 4. And if you look at Antonio Brown's season, he had more points per game than DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, or CeeDee Lamb. So he produced at a very high level. I'm comfortable with him as my wide receiver 3 because if I'm taking him as my 3 in the 8th, 9th round, it means I'm stacked at running back, or I have an elite quarterback or an elite tight end. So give me all the AB in rounds 8 and 9. And the great thing about Antonio Brown is he also is still going to provide that weekly upside. He had some big games last season, that boom potential in week 15. This one's not as big, but 5 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Very, very solid. And then in week 17, he really blew up. 11 receptions, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So AB is a guy I'm targeting early and often in that 8th, 9th round as an extreme value.
The upside is there in the Bucs offense. This could be a historic offense when we look back at the end of the 2021 season.